Martellus Bennett recently told Bleacher Report regarding Patriots coach Bill Belichick, Bill always had bad plays of the day, and he's just calling out Tom. You know, he's like, we have quarterbacks that can't make throws. I've never seen coaches really call the quarterbacks out in group meetings. The next day we go 33 for 33 or something like that at practice. And from then I was just like, oh, we're going to be great. And look, Bill Belichick calls out Tom Brady. That's what he does. There are no sacred cows in New England, and Belichick sets the tone by always calling out his quarterback. So today's draft, quarterbacks currently in the NFL that would benefit from the Bill Belichick treatment of always being called out in the hopes that they would reach and sustain their full potential. Big Cat, you have the honors, heads or tails in the draft. Now, I know how this goes. You'll win the toss and you'll defer to me, but let's go. Heads or tails?
All right, tails.
Yeah, it's already been heads this month. The heads quota has been filled. There's tails. All right.
I'll pick first. I'm going to go with the easy first selection. How about Ben Roethlisberger? If you don't think part of this last year with the Steelers, with Le'Veon Bell, with Antonio Brown, with the disappointment in not making the playoffs, some of the blame has to be at Big Ben's feet. And I'm guessing that none of the blame is at Big Ben's feet when it comes to the locker room. You've heard the rumblings. He's a phenomenal Hall of Fame quarterback, but is he held to the same accountable level that the rest of the team is? I think the answer is no. It would probably go a long way if Mike Tomlin evened it out a little and said, Ben, you too need to step up your game and play better if we want to get back to the playoffs.
I agree with you, but here's the problem. It happened 10, 11 days ago when they gave him a new contract with $68 million in new money. When they gave him a signing bonus of $37.5 million, they're going to pay him $45 million this year. This is the validation. Ben, just keep being Ben. And I suggested earlier this week somewhere that did they give him all that money just because they felt compelled to let the world know they still believe in this guy? Like, was there a jerk premium that the Steelers had to pay to Roethlisberger to push back against the narrative that he's a bad teammate and a bad leader? So that new contract tells us all we need to know. They're going to let Ben continue to be Ben.
But it would be nice if Mike Tomlin called him out maybe in a practice. Probably go a long way. He's my number one pick.
I don't disagree with you that he's the guy that I would have considered after the one who I think really should be the first one on the list, and that is Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins, who's gotten paid, but he hasn't lived up to it. And there's an issue in prime time, and I know there are plenty of other problems with the Vikings, offensive line, this, that, and the other thing. They are gradually and systematically crossing off the list of excuse items for Kirk Cousins. This year, no excuses. This year, in the second year of that 3-year, $84 million contract, it's on Cousins to step up in games that count. I know they all count, but the big games, the night games, the games that you look at and you circle when the schedule comes out and say, this is one that's going to require everything that we can muster. They had an opportunity on a Monday night in Seattle. Their defense was playing great against the Seahawks, shutting down Russell Wilson. The offense couldn't do crap. At some point, it falls back on the quarterback, and Mike Zimmer, the head coach, he's a Bill Parcells disciple, just like Bill Belichick, so there's that common link there, and Zimmer is not afraid to speak his mind. I think this is the year that Zimmer needs to be more aggressive, telling Kirk Cousins how he needs to be and when he's not doing what he needs to do.
All right, you obviously think in the back of your mind, like, hey, man, maybe if someone just lit a fire under Kirk Cousins' butt, he would be a good quarterback. Not going to happen, Mike. Sorry, I'm going to ruin it for you.
I don't think it in the back of my mind. I think it in the front of my mind.
Yeah,
I think it throughout my entire brain.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
There's no hidden agenda here. I'm trying to do for Cousins what somebody needs to do for him in the locker room. Come on, Kirk, step it up.
Yeah, you're calling him out right now. All right, my second pick's also easy. I'm surprised you didn't go here. Another place where there's rumblings will stay in Pennsylvania. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with Carson Wentz. There were rumblings about Carson thinks that he is, the best player on the team. It was Nick Foles' locker room. I think he has to earn back a little bit of trust. I know that some of the players came out and said, this is hogwash, this isn't real, but I'm a big time where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to these stories. And what Nick Foles did with the team, winning the Super Bowl, taking him on that run again last year, Carson Wentz has to rebuild some stuff there. And I think getting called out and being held accountable will go a long way to bringing the team back together. Not that they're a playoff team, but you know what I'm saying. The Carson Wentz probably has to kind of elevate himself as a team leader now that Nick Foles is gone.
Well, two of the flaws that the Eagles have, and I agree with you, they need to call him out. One is they need to call him out when it comes to putting himself in harm's way. He has to adjust his playing style so he doesn't get injured in December, and they have to hope that the backup can come in and save the season. And secondly, and this is a Chris Sims take that we keep coming back to because I think it's accurate, the coaching staff gets so smitten with what Carson Wentz can do, they get away from what they need to do to be an effective offense, drive in and drive out. And I think part of that is coaching themselves, but also coaching Carson Wentz to stick with the things that they know will work and not abandon and improvise and do things that fascinate the coaches, but also frustrate what the team's trying to do. So I like that one as well. But I'm surprised this guy's still on the board. My emotion took over with Kirk Cousins. My brain is now kicking in eventually. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, my God, we've seen the story. We know that we know that he needs that push, that shove, that he needs to be nudged to be better than he is. And you know, he's been a guy that they tiptoe around, and they've done it for a decade now. Just think of how great he could be if you could get through to him and push his buttons and call him out and make him be an even better quarterback than what he's been.
And what happens if you don't? It goes completely the other way. That's a terrible pick, Mike. You call it Aaron Rodgers.
What are you talking about?
Aaron Rodgers held a grudge against Mike McCarthy for 10-plus years, even after they won a Super Bowl, because Mike McCarthy passed on him in the draft. Do you really want to walk in the first day and be like, Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to start a little feud with you. I'm going to call you out and have him go back to grudge Aaron Rodgers? I think it's the other way with Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
I think you got to go in there. You got to challenge him mentally. You don't call him out. You say, look, you're the best player in the NFL if you do what I say and if you follow what we do. And we're going to revolutionize this playbook, and we're going to be an explosive offense, dynamic, all these things. You call it Aaron Rodgers in front of the team, I guarantee you that backfires.
Big picture, the Packers, it's not working, and it hasn't been working even with the presence of Aaron Rodgers. This is like the guy who shows up for the first day of prison, like it's the first day of school or something.
No,
what do you do?
You're wrong.
You find the biggest, baddest guy, and you kick his ass. That's what you do.
And then you're going to get killed. You just died, Mike
you get
Florio.
shivved. But you know what? You either die fast or you die slow. Either way, you're going to die. So you may as well turn things around in Green Bay while you can. He definitely needs to be coached aggressively. And you know what? At some point, grow up, man. What do you know, I mean, I hold grudges too, but you get past them at some point. You're an adult now. If you're holding a grudge from 2005, there's something wrong with you. What?
That was the understatement of the year, of the millennium. Mike Florio, I hold grudges too. Yeah, you think? You're a grudge
you're not
master.
On the list. You're gonna make the list one of these days. You push. You're gonna.
I'm gonna get. Yeah, I'm gonna get on your grudge list right now. My third pick is
like
Michael
Bortles?
Florio, the QB of this show, the QB of Pro Football Talk. Terrible question to Randy Moss. Did no research for the Kentucky Derby. You got to be better. I'm calling you out right now. Pick up your game. Look at all the notes I take. I take notes for this show. Stats sends me everything, and I take notes for this show, and I prepare for this show, and then I have to sit here and listen to you ask Randy Moss, well, what's the weather going to be like on Saturday, Randy? I'm calling you out.
But you know, we have viewers out there, we have listeners out there who may not know. We just assume that they know the weather is going to be bad. So
Mike,
I'm allowing them to understand.
I will teach you how to do it because we're calling you out right here. Randy, great to have you on. The weather's going to be terrible on Saturday in Louisville. Talk to us about how that affects the horses when they're trying to run through the mud. I took you to Big J school.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I stand corrected. All right, Matthew Stafford for me as the third pick. I wanted to go Jared Goff. Just to stick it to you a little bit. But, you know, Matthew Stafford, I think a guy who, not through his own fault, he's the one that had to endure a decade of bad coaching in Detroit. And now that Matt Patricia's there, right off of the Bill Belichick tree, he's going to try to give Matthew Stafford some of that Tom Brady treatment, and I think Stafford would benefit from it. You know, the guy is immensely talented, but he's never been coached the way he needs to be. He's never embraced the things that he needs to embrace because there's never been anyone there to tell him how he needs to embrace the job, how he needs to grow into that role of a leader. He's still got the potential to have a Hall of Fame career. He's still got the potential to turn this thing around. It sounds crazy as I say it, but they have the potential to do it. And one of the ways to do it is to get through to Matthew Stafford and get him to embrace everything about the job. Leadership, accountability. It's not just go out and throw a football. It's so much bigger than that. And maybe Matt Patricia can draw it out of him.
That's a good pick. A couple other names I'll throw out there. Jameis Winston, another guy, obviously was kind of given the world, said you are the next franchise quarterback. It hasn't worked out with Bruce Arians down there. I think this is a big year for him. Calling him out would go a long way. Criticizing him, especially coming from a guy like Bruce Arians, who everyone should respect in the room and know that he's got, the QB whisperer tag. The last one I had, Eli Manning. Because what has happened this offseason is the Giants have been an absolute mess. You don't think that guys in that locker room are like, why did we trade our best player in Odell Beckham? Why did we draft Daniel Jones with a 6th pick where everyone else had him as a late first rounder, second rounder talent? Everyone is saying, whispering around saying, look, this is Eli's team, and he has ownership and the coaching staff in the palm of his hand. So I think it would go a long way if Pat Shurmur on day one called out Eli and said, you have to be better, and we need you to be better for us to win football games.
2 quick points on the way out. First, I think Jared Goff needs to get called out. I think there's too much tiptoeing on eggshells around him. I think he could be better, or if he's reached his maximum, they need to think about their alternatives. And secondly, on Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston. Arians was on ESPN over the weekend, and he's already calling Jameis Winston out publicly. They said, what does Winston need to do? He said, quit throwing it to the other team. That's Bruce Arians, and Winston's either going to reach his maximum or he's going to shatter under Bruce Arians. But we'll find out what happens with them and the rest of the quarterbacks who need some aggressive coaching this year, I guess including me. That is weird, man, to see that there. I don't believe that is the only way I'm ever ending up on that list, by doing bad research for a horse racing interview and needing to be coached by Big Cat about, knowing the weather report at Churchill Downs.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.